Hello, everyone. Today I'd like to share with you some ideas from Joel Goldsmith's book, The Mystical I, capital letter I. Revelations 3:20 states, Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. Goldsmith writes, Who is this I standing at the door? And at what door is this I standing? He writes, At what door but the door of your consciousness? I stand at the door of your consciousness and knock. But you must open the door and admit me, for I am the bread of life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection and the life. I am come that you might have life, and that you might have it abundantly. Goldsmith writes that when you admit that I of God into your consciousness, you have admitted into your consciousness the power of resurrection, the resurrection of your body, your home, your marriage, your fortune, your business, everything. Only when you admit that I into your consciousness do you admit into yourself the secret of life. When you acknowledge that I in the midst of you is mighty, you are not speaking of any person. You are speaking of the I, the capital letter I, the I am. That I in the midst of you is mighty. That I in the midst of you is greater than any problem in the outside world. That I in the midst of you has come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That I has been with you since before Abraham was, awaiting your recognition, your acknowledgement, and your acceptance of it. When Jesus spoke of the Father within, and when Paul spoke of the Christ that dwells in him, they were speaking of the I am, the very I that you are. The I, the capital letter I that you have just announced, that it is in the midst of you. God can influence, guide, direct, feed, clothe, and house you. The one source God, the I that you are, knows that you have need of these things, and it is His good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Just remember, it is not your will that is to be done, but God's will. And God's will can be done only in the degree of your yielding to this greater I that is within you. Surrender to that I. The message of the infinite way is wholly dedicated to admitting the presence of the Christ into your consciousness and letting it transform us from the human sense of life to the spiritual. Not merely changing a bad human sense of life to a good human sense of life. Our interest is in surrendering the whole of material sense, even when it is good, and receiving in exchange our own personal divine sonship. The goal of the infinite way is to become the child of God, not merely a healthy human being, a good human being, or a wealthy human being, but rather to show in our daily experience our spiritual nature, that which actually was given to us in the beginning. In our human experience, the presence of God may seem to have done very little for us. But now that we open our consciousness specifically that the Spirit of God may enter and perform its will within you, this opening of consciousness is prayer or contemplative meditation. You are contemplating the truth, acknowledging the presence and power of God, acknowledging that God's source is standing at the door awaiting your invitation to enter and to transform your life not as you would have it transformed, but as it will be transformed when the Spirit of God makes you over into its image and likeness, which you must understand is better and greater than anything you could imagine. The promise is that God will perform that which it has appointed for you. Not my will, but thine be done. Sit in the silence and say, whatever it is that I am ordained to do, whatever it is you have for me, you perform for me, within me, and through me. Then take a period for listening so that the Spirit may come upon you and within you and continue to perform its works through you. Be still. Do not pray with words, do not pray with thoughts. Just be still. Breathe. Let the Christ enter and purify, redeem, wipe clean, and restore everything to you. Let the Christ do it. Do not try to help or inform or instruct it. Just be still. When you do this, it will gently remind you, I stood at the door and knocked, but now the door is opened, and I am within you. I am closer to you than breathing and nearer than hands and feet. That I is the very presence and power of God, the very Spirit of God, and it, the all-knowing, is within you. Do you know why it's there? The Master Jesus gave the answer. I am come that they might have life, and they might have it more abundantly. I, the presence of God, I who is standing at the door knocking, I whom you have admitted into your consciousness, I am come within you that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Your function is to rest and relax in this truth that the presence of God within you is there for that one purpose. It makes no difference what your past life has been or what your present life is or has been up to the moment of admitting that Christ into your own personal consciousness. For each person, as the Christ enters your consciousness, the past no longer exists. Everything in the past is forgiven and wiped out, along with the penalty for them, Goldsmith writes, and a new day begins. You cannot live yesterday again. You cannot relive even an hour ago, and all you do is torture yourself by bringing the memory of yesterday into today. If you do not bring it there, it can never get there, because yesterday is gone, and it can be reviewed only as a memory. No one can do that but you, and no one can drop it but you. In the moment that you admit the Christ into your consciousness, yesterday is gone, and the capacity for committing any offense of any kind has also gone. In the presence of Source is fulfillment. In the presence of Source is peace. In the presence of Source is harmony. There cannot be the presence of God, Source in you, and the capacity for anything else. Now the Christ within says, my peace I give unto you. That voice within speaks to you and says, my peace, that is spiritual peace, I give unto you. Not the peace that the world gives, but the peace of the Christ that resides in you today and always. We have been listening over and over again that there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. This has been said in so many ways over these past many weeks. And the only way to truly know this within yourself is by sitting in that presence. I invite you to find more and more times during the day even if only for 10 minutes or so, and just acknowledge the Father and I are one. And then sit in that awareness. I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Then sit in that awareness and begin to accept that abundance in all areas of your life, not just financially, but all areas of your life, and accept it into your whole being. So may you have a beautiful and blessed day, being one with the Father, one with Source, one with all that is. Take these words into your heart. Sit with them, contemplate them in the silence of your being. Have a beautiful and blessed day. God bless.